Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we are reviewing the MAVO Lumicurve coffee scale. MAVO has not paid for this review, but they did send this to me. What I have here is a pre-production model of the scale. And as I go through the review, I will point out how this differs from the production model. Anyway, I'll go over the scale's features, its brewing modes, what I like about them, things I recommend for firmware updates or future iterations, and I'll conclude with my ultimate feelings about the scale and whether or not I think you should back it. For those of you who are interested, the link to the Kickstarter is in the description below. Now, first thing you should do out of the box is calibrate the scale. You can get to the calibration menu by holding the two bottom buttons, then by pressing the bottom right button, placing the calibration weight, and you're done. So here we are. How does it work? What does it do? So this scale is different from most in the way that it features 4 buttons. The top left is the switch button, which changes modes, switches displays, and acts as a back key. The top right is the power button, which turns the scale on and off, opens the settings menu, and acts as an enter key. The bottom left is the timer button, which arms the timer, resets the timer, and acts as an up key. And the bottom right is the tear button, which tears the scale and acts as a down key. The buttons act as keys when you are inside the settings menu. And because there are 4 buttons, it's really easy to navigate to where you want to go and control the scale in general. On screen, there are little gray text tips which tell you what button to press to go to where you want to go. Overview. All right, so the max capacity of the scale is 2,000 grams and the minimum capacity is 0.1 grams. Battery. It has a 1,000 milliamp hour battery. It has fast charging. It is 50 minutes to 90% in 1 hour and 20 minutes to full. During the charging process, you get a bar that gradually fills up. It would be nice to get a hard percentage number as to where the scale is currently at. It has IPX3 water resistance. The build, it is an aluminum alloy with scratch-resistant glass, food-grade silicone for the pad. The top is a finished plastic. This feels really good in the hand. Because it's thin, it's easy to hold, to pick up, to maneuver. So yeah, it feels quite nice. The production version will have an oleophobic coating and be shipped with a tempered glass screen protector. Those two together should help resist fingerprints. Height is 17.5 millimeters by itself, 20.5 millimeters with the pad. The width is 80 millimeters and the depth is 161 millimeters. The weight on its own is 271.1 grams, and with the silicone pad, it is 306.1 grams. It has a 1.46 inch HD TFT color screen. The screen is very bright, it's colorful, it's fun. I think it's the only scale that will be on the market with a full color screen. That is not all. The scale has a gravity sensor, which allows the screen to rotate based on what orientation you have it in. What comes with the scale? So you get the scale, you get 2 silicone pads, one for Pourover, one for Espresso. You get a carrying case, you get a calibration weight, an instruction manual, and a charging cable. The design. I was familiar with this scale before MAVO sent this to me. When I first saw it online, I wasn't the biggest fan of the shape. Like, this is a rectangle. This is a smartphone. I didn't understand it. I thought MAVO was just trying to do something new. They're just trying to do something novel. But when you pair this scale with the fact that it has a rotating screen, it does unlock a new level of utility. Modes. There are 5. By default, 4 are activated. The one that's not is Pourover Smart End. You can go into the settings menu and you can choose which modes will be active and which will not be, which is pretty convenient. Basic. Love it. It's just weight and time. And because those are the only 2 variables taking up room on the screen, they're bigger. And because there's less going on, the scale responds a little bit faster than it does with the other modes. The screen is the fastest to orientate, and the lag time is 0.3 to 0.35 seconds. Pourover. Oddly, the mode I use the most. I mean, I make pour-overs more than I make espresso. This makes sense. But typically with other scales, I find myself just using the basic mode the most because of its simplicity. But Here, the smart functions are such that they're just a lot easier to use than with other scales. So for the pour over mode, we can use the default silicone pad. The pads slide on really nicely. They kind of just lock into place. You know, you're gonna measure your beans, you're gonna add your range server and your dripper on. Tare, the thing that you'll do last, you'll add your ground coffee in. That's when you hit the timer button to arm the timer. And because the last weight that you added was your dose of ground coffee, that becomes your ratio. Then you can go ahead and add your first stream of water for your bloom, and it'll go ahead and start tracking things. Because there's 4 buttons, the timer gets to be used as a dedicated arming button. With the Lumicurve, I don't have to remember how many times the scale will auto tare before it ultimately starts its drip trigger. I can just do it myself and I'm ready to go. When you are done, you can hit the timer button once more to finish your brew and it will display a graph. And the graph that it'll show you for pour over mode is a weight graph. And that's just weight over time. For pour over smart end, things are much the same, but the graph gets generated when the dripper is removed. I like to lift the dripper up right after I bloom to shake things around, agitate the grounds, make sure everything is evenly saturated with water. And because that might trigger accidental stops, I like to use the manual mode instead. For pour over and espresso, the lag time is 0.45 seconds. Espresso. So for espresso, we can use the included portafilter pad, which works quite nicely. If you've been watching my videos, you'll see that I have a new espresso machine. It's the Gemini Owl. Group head sits so far forward that none of my other scales really work perfectly with the drip tray, except for the Lumicurve. Because the screen can go on the side and I can flip the orientation, the scale works perfectly. And the espresso mode works very similarly to pour over mode, which is nice in the sense that you'll tare your weights, and then when you're finally ready for that drip trigger, you can go ahead and hit the timer button to arm the scale. At the end of your shot, it will show you your graph again, and it'll give you all of your insights. For this, it'll give you a flow rate graph instead of a weight graph. So the one variable that isn't present for espresso is going to be the ratio. And intuitively, this doesn't seem possible because with a pour over, the last weight that you can add can be your dose. But for espresso, the last thing that you're going to be adding is your cup. But if you look at the manual, it tells you, hey, the power button, pressing and holding to turn the scale on and off, that won't work in espresso mode. The power button could have different functionality. You could hit the power button to record the dose so the scale knows and saves that information for when you hit the timer button to ultimately pull your shot. I think that would be cool if they added that. Then you have espresso continuous mode. This is if you're working behind a bar, you're already dialed in, you're just using your scale to just pull weight. Every time you add a new cup, it'll tare, get ready for that drip trigger. You can just do that over and over again. I think it's really nice that they have the graph, it stays there, and it has all your relevant variables like flow rate and ratio, and it's really easy to see on the scale with the color screen. So let's go over the settings that'll help give you an understanding of what the scale can do. So the first is the history, and this gives you the last 3 brew graphs that have been generated. I think it would be nice if the graphs showed a date and time along with the mode icon. Number 2, espresso activation mode, cup triggered or drip triggered. Cup triggered makes sense if you are placing the cup on the scale as soon as you're hitting the button on your espresso machine to engage the pump. When you look at the graph later, that'll give you a sense of how long it took from when the pump was engaged to when the first shot actually dropped and the flow rate started. Number 3, display mode. As I mentioned before, you can go in and you can change which modes are actually visible in the menu. Number 4, you can adjust the screen brightness. 5, you can change the unit between grams and ounces. Number 6, the minimum weight. So you can change it, the default is 0.3. You can change it to 0.1. And that makes the scale very sensitive. This might ultimately be useful for people that are pulling very slow shots and are having just like a couple of very slow drips coming from the portafilter in the beginning. Number 7, beep, on or off. So you can do, if you don't like the beep, you can turn it off. It's either 100% on or 0% totally off. There are certain beeps that you might not want. For example, when you're recording, it will beep at every minute. I like that, kind of helps keep me on task. The other thing it'll do is when you are in the history, it'll beep every time you're scrolling up and down. I would like the ability to be more granular with which beeps I hear and which ones I don't. Number 8, tips. This is the gray text that shows on screen. I like being able to know at all times what button I need to press to go where. This is super useful for people getting to know the scale. You can turn this off if you want. Number 9, rotation. So essentially you can lock it to any orientation or you can just keep it on auto. Number 10, sleep. This is just the time that the scale will remain on before it automatically goes to sleep after periods of inactivity. Number 11, pour over stability. By default, it's on. I'm not exactly sure what algorithms go into it. I would keep it on regardless. Number 12, language. Right now, it's Chinese or English. I'm sure other languages will be supported over time. Number 13, what version you're on. And then number 14, if you want to reset. So this is potentially a smart scale. The scale has Bluetooth functionality. Right now, that app is in beta, but will be pushed via OTA update shortly after fulfillment. And that app is going to have real-time flow rate curves, recipe sharing, scale control. I can only talk about the features that I have actually been able to experience. I haven't been able to use the app. I would say if you like what this scale is right now for its features that it has as a standalone scale, then I would say yes, go ahead and back the scale. And then I would consider the app to be a nice bonus. Beyond the app, there's also a hidden feature for syncing with smart espresso machines via future OTA updates. I'm not sure what machines exactly. Suspect like the Wendoji Data or Lida machines, maybe the decent espresso machine. Recommendations. In general, I like that MAVO has chosen purple as their color of choice. I think that's awesome. I would like the ability to customize which colors I see for what. Turning on the scale is a little slow. It is 2.3 seconds. Turning off it's better. It's 1.6 seconds. And then I like that the scale, it gradually goes off. It goes to sleep. Turning on, if it had a similar kind of like loading animation, that might be nice. The buttons. I would personally like it if there were more hints on screen to show which buttons to push for back, up, down, and enter. Or if the buttons themselves on the front had those symbols next to them. Especially when you first turn the scale on, you have to choose what language you want. And because I didn't know immediately and because it doesn't say in the beginning of the instruction manual, I chose Chinese. It was initially confusing. Not a huge complaint. Because the screen is so bright, which is awesome, makes the buttons a little harder to see in contrast. I would love it if in a future iteration they were illuminated. And lastly, when you are using the scale, when you're brewing, if you hold down the switch button, you can change display modes. If you press the switch button, it will just reset you and take you out of that mode. And so I think those two should be switched. If I forget to hold down, or I don't hold down quite long enough, it'll just reset everything I'm doing. Conclusion. MAVO is an established brand. They have real products. They have a real customer service and support team. And because I have the scale right here, this is probably going to be a real product. I have faith MAVO will deliver on their promise to backers. The Kickstarter price is $84. And so for that, you get aluminum alloy and glass construction, a TFT rotating color display. No other scale in the market has that. You get a carrying case, you get a calibration weight, you get 2 silicone pads. It has decent water resistance, solid battery life, it has fast charging, and it might have smart functionality in the future. So for $84, I would say that's kind of a steal. Retail price is $139. I still think it's a good deal at that price. If you're interested, the MAVO Lumicurve is available on Kickstarter. Link is in my description below. That Kickstarter will be live until Friday, July 17th at 10 a.m. EDT. Thank you again to MAVO for sending me the Lumicurve scale to review. If you have any questions about the Lumicurve scale that I didn't cover in this review, please leave a comment below and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I can. I'm looking forward to the official launch of the scale and fulfillment. I'm looking forward to the app coming out. I can't wait to try it. And thanks to you guys for watching. If you liked the video, please consider giving it a thumbs up. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Over and out.